Okay, so now we'll go talk about the Mucociliary Apparatus. Okay, the Mucociliary Apparatus. Now, wetin be this Mucociliary Apparatus? And why it be say if problem happen to this Mucociliary Apparatus, it go actually cause pneumonia. So for us to properly understand, make we for understand this thing very well, this particularly Mucociliary Apparatus, I will just take us back a little bit, do a little bit of anatomy of the lungs. A little bit, just a little bit. Now, I don't already talk and say we get right and left lung. Okay? Now, I want make we understand wetin be respiratory tract. Now, the respiratory tract, they divided into two. E get the conducting part, the part where we say they guide the air, they go inside the lungs, and e get the respiratory part. Now, that respiratory part, now the part where they actually between the air and the blood, where they help, they transmit this air from the lungs into the blood to the part of the body where they need it. So this respiratory part, now you see I'm saying at the last gate where the air need pass before it will go enter our whole body and the places where the air they needed. Okay, so the conducting part actually starts from the nose. From the nose, this one, then enter the pharynx. From the pharynx, you go enter the trachea. Now, the trachea, we'll discuss trachea another day and wetin dey involved in trachea. You get almost 16 to 20 U-shaped cartilages. From the trachea, now the trachea will come enter the lungs, come divide into two. We get the right and the left bronchus. Okay? Now, the right bronchus, they direct continuation, okay, of the trachea. They're very important, make you know that point. Say the right bronchus, or maybe they call them bronchi, they've a direct continuation. One of them are plural. They a direct continuation, okay, of the trachea. Now, wetin be the clinical importance of that point before I go down? Now, the clinical importance of that particular point, say the right bronchus, which is shorter and wider, they a direct continuation of the trachea, be say anytime where aspiration occur, you go just do boom, enter inside the right bronchus and there down into the right lung. So when aspiration occur, they usually find them for the right lung, because the right bronchus will be the direct continuation of the trachea, where we say if it come from mouth, you go pass through trachea for sure, so it go actually dey inside the right side. So that one a clue, because it is shorter, it is wider. That one for the right bronchus. So after we bronchus, we get the terminal bronchioles as well. Okay, so we get the bronchioles, the bronchioles, you get the one we get CHIOLES, that's the bronchioles, and then we get the terminal bronchioles. Okay, so we get the nose, pharynx, trachea, left and right bronchioles, and we have the bronchioles and then the terminal bronchiole. So this one, are medical students, very, very important, make you know those parts. Those one are the conducting part. Okay, so now when you go to the respiratory part, okay, we get the respiratory bronchioles, okay, and then we get the alveolar duct, alveolar sac, and then we get the alveoli. Okay, those are the last parts of this whole lung system what we talk about. So we get the respiratory bronchioles, okay, alveolar duct, alveolar sac, and then we get the alveoli. Okay, so these ones now actually the division between the conducting part and what? Remember? The respiratory part. Okay, these things they're very, very important. If you remember, I tell you, say for the right side, why your doctor fee ask you, or as a student, your doctor fee ask you, your teacher fee ask you, say, why we say we easily they see aspiration in the right part? The reason is very, very simple, because the right bronchus is a direct continuation of the trachea. So, and it is shorter and wider, so it is easily for any aspirate to drop through, okay, directly inside. So this one a very, very important point. So we don't understand that point finish. Now I will go next to a little bit of histology, okay. Now wetin be the epithelium? Epithelium where they line the respiratory system. The epithelium where they actually line the respiratory system, that they call them pseudo stratified ciliated. Ciliated means that you get something like hair, okay, on top. Pseudo stratified ciliated columnar epithelium. I go take them again. Now, pseudo stratified ciliated columnar epithelium. So if your doctor or your teacher asks you which epithelium they line the respiratory tract, that epithelium, now pseudo stratified ciliated columnar epithelium, okay. And also at the same time, remember say this epithelium you no go see am for the alveoli. It is very, very important, make you know am. Say you can only see this epithelium, okay, in the other parts of the respiratory tract, but you know dey for alveoli. Wetin dey for alveoli, the type of epithelium or the type of cell wey dey for alveoli, they call am pneumocyte. We'll go talk about that one too as we continue. So this respiratory epithelium, they very, very important. This particular epithelium, because that cilia get in work, okay? That cilia get in work. Now, wetin be the work of that cilia? That cilia, they help, they beat upwards and outwards. All the particle, the yama particle where you don't inhale in. For example, dust and some other things where you don't know. For example, if you go area where dust plenty, okay, for example, you dey for desert now, and you walk out with the dust, they blow and everything, when they enter inside your body. Now the work of that cilia to beat them like this, upwards and outward. The cilia, you know that if you don't watch match before for stadium, you go see how people, they celebrate, like fans, they celebrate, they do like this. They call it Mexican wave formation. Mexican wave formation. Now the same kind of formation where the cilia, now the same way where the cilia they beat, upwards and outwards. So this one are the work of that epithelium. God try you. God try. He placed everything for every location. So if something for happen, this particular thing they here to prevent them. So if dust come, this thing they here to prevent them. Maybe we clap for God small. Okay, so now so cilia be now the reason why we get the cilia go beat and come out the dust. So imagine now, okay, if that cilia no dey work, if something happened to that cilia, so it means say that function now zero. Should you understand now? Okay, before I go talk about wetin they cause that cilia not to work well, I want to explain, because I talked something before, say we no get this cilia for alveoli. Okay, so we get what we call alveolar cell, what it mean pneumocyte. Okay, now this pneumocyte, we get type 1 pneumocyte and type 2 pneumocyte. Take note, type 1 pneumocyte, now the one where they help, they form part of the what they call air-blood barrier or blood-air barrier. Understand? Now the type 1 pneumocyte, now very simple squamous cell. Okay, squamous cell, squam means they flat. Very simple one where they help for gaseous exchange. Okay, where they help for gas to easily they move through from the lungs into the blood vessel. So that type 1 pneumocyte, they help, they part of that blood-air barrier. If you watch our previous video we've been do before for about the lungs, you will see say we get that we talk about that particular cell. Now the second type of cell, now the cell where they call type 2 pneumocyte. Now this type 2 pneumocyte, they produce something where they very important. I say very important. And that thing that they call them surfactant. That thing that they call them waiting surfactant. Now, waiting be this surfactant. This surfactant, they very, very important, my brothers and sisters. You know why? Because if surfactant no day, this alveoli could collapse. And if alveoli collapse, it means the exchange of oxygen between the lungs and the blood vessels will be impaired. I speak English too. You understand me? All right. So it go so exchange of oxygen could be impaired. So the function of surfactant is to keep the surface tension, to provide the surface tension on the alveoli and the lungs to prevent it from collapsing. So now they provide surface tension. They do it like this. So if the lungs expand during inhalation, during exhalation, when they go back, make it for collapse. Make it just go back again and come back again. That thing where they make them like that, now they call them surfactant. And that surfactant, now they produce by the type 2 pneumocyte. Okay, so now make we talk about the things where they cause this mucociliary apparatus from not working. What's in the cause? Number one, my brothers and sisters, now smoking. Smoking, they cause this cilia from not functioning well, particularly chronic smokers. Okay, because when you smoke, you remember say they inhale something in, and those debris where they come from the cigarette, they go impede this cilia. Look, I'm say you get hair, and you know these black things where they come from the cigars, so they smoke they attach to this hair particle. So from time to time, you go there a bit thicker, then you know go feel move again. Then you go there Immortal. Then in that case, it don't cause problem with that. So smoking, they cause them. Another one is genetic disease. You get one particular genetic disease. When we talk about genetic disease, now disease will come from, the gene. I don't know how to explain gene for Pidgin, but gene, now the gene. Now the thing will make you, that gene. Yes. Now they call them Immortal Celiac syndrome. Okay? Immortal Celiac syndrome. This particular syndrome, it follow person most of the time from birth, and they lead to this condition too as well. So it is very, very important. Make you take note of that. It's a genetic condition. Smoking, they cause this cilia from actually not working. So these are some of the points of the things where they cause this cilia from not working properly. So you guys understand, say, if cilia need to move, say, it affect this whole system. And then at the end of the day, pneumonia could develop. So we don't talk about the things where they actually impair defense mechanism, where we talk about cough reflex. We talk about now the mucociliary apparatus. Another thing where it affect this mucociliary apparatus, where it cause this problem. Now when they breathe in hot gas, when they breathe in hot air, if it affect that cilia. And also viruses as well, if it affect the cilia as well. So viruses, hot gases, hot air, smoking, and at the same time genetic diseases. These things together cause the mucociliary apparatus not to function properly. Okay, so now these things when you see, so when it happen or when they happen, say pneumonia they on the line to feel occur. Or if you don't they ask question and you see them say it happen to the patient, or these things they happen, you're gonna see pneumonia don't they occur. So the next point we will talk about some other things where they still under the impaired host defense mechanism, where it also cause pneumonia. So stay tuned, we'll go see you for the next slide. Take care.